And on our Father's Day, we've decided that we're going to talk about the Amityville Horror, the 1979 version versus the 2005 version, just to make sure that people understand the full backstory. Ronnie Butch DeFeo was 23, and when he murdered his whole family, that was November 13th, 1974. And then, a year later, the Lutz family that moved in there spent 28 days there, and then got in their van and moved to the other side of the country. They just left. They interviewed the guy who actually killed his family, Butch DeFeo. Initially, they were trying to get him an insanity plea bargain so that he wouldn't have to go to actual prison or get the death penalty or anything. The lawyer found out that they were reaching out to people about paranormal activity in the house. His lawyer was one of the people who initially was trying to have a book deal to sell the rights to the story about their haunting. And then the lawyer figured, hey, this would be great because you can't sway a jury outside, with outside perceptions, right?
Yeah.
However, if life just happens to present those things, right, and people find out about it, then you change it in the public's mind, right? So the whole reason that you have these movies is because the family that went through the haunting, right? That family got together with a lawyer, and they were going to write a book, and at the last minute, they ditched the lawyer, and then they went and got an actual author that would be able to get a publishing deal very easily.
This all feels like a giant money laundering scheme.
100%. Yeah. It's all bullshit, almost certainly.
Yeah.
It's very likely that they experienced some kind of paranormal activity. However,
maybe.
I mean, it's certainly there. If there is that kind of thing in the universe or whatever, like ghosts or whatever, certainly there would be some dark energy around that house.
The place that the guy murdered his whole family.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the lawyer, now you could say he was scorned from not being able to get the book deal with them, and was trying to get back at him. But he basically was like, yeah, we sat down, we went through 3 bottles of wine together and just started talking about their experience. And the more they talked about it, the more they started to extrapolate. And by the end of the night, the story was this house gives us weird vibes, and by the end of the night, it was the walls are bleeding. So in 2000, they did an updated documentary, and they interview him in prison, and he basically was just like, "Yeah, I made all that up. None of that's true." And then he's like, "I was drunk and on heroin." That's what he said.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah. Oh, that's not why.
Why?
I mean, there's probably. Yeah.
But you didn't how?
You don't kill 6 people because you're tired. But many people do drugs and alcohol. And now there are people who become violent when they do other drugs. His friend said that he had done cocaine and stuff like that, and he might have had some kind of cocaine-induced psychosis that can make you more violent. But the initial murders of the Defoe family, there is no definitive answer to why all that happened. But the guy who did it said that there was no paranormal activity that made him kill his family. Well, that's the other thing, is it changed over the years. At one point, he said that his sister helped him kill all of them. And then at one point, he said 2 hitmen came in, and he helped them kill all of them. And they left, and he took the fall for it.
Right.
That
one actually seems like... Because, how did he kill them all before they woke up?
Right. Well, there's a very cheesy... terrible documentary. In terms of production value, it's terrible, but in terms of information, it's really interesting. But it's all about how the DeFeo family was actively participating in the 70s crime families of New York.
So they were mobsters.
Yeah. Butch DeFeo worked for his father, who was like part lackey. Now, the issue with that documentary would be there's no way to be sure if those sources were cited correctly. It could be just as untrue as the family who basically all these years later, everyone has kind of said total bullshit. Basically, the only person who says that any of that happened anymore is the son. In 2021, I believe, they released a documentary called My Amityville Horror. He's super intense, and you feel his emotion, and you can tell he believes that this happened to him. But he also suffered a lot of abuse. He talks about the father in it, how
to do it.
How they're like, oh, the house made him crazy, and the kid is like, that's one thing the movies got wrong. He was already abusive. It started that way and it ended that way. And the craziest part about the Amityville movies and books and documentaries and all this stuff, I mean, there's hundreds of hours of content about this and novels. and fan fiction. There's everything you can imagine you can read about.
Well,
Very little of it is actually about the murders.
Right.
The guy who murdered, that's insane. That's how
what's it about?
That's how good publicity was.
Yeah.
The movies we watched were about a family who moved in to a haunted house.
Man getting bit by an alligator and he screams.
Swallow this.